Dealing with a Pontiac G6, has 286,000 miles on it. Check engine light, very simple. This is not P, this is pre-workout, just to let you know that. Got a EGR code. I'm just gonna go back for reference and confirm what codes I had going on here. I know it's the EGR valve he called about, and then he wanted me to do the intermediate shaft. I'm not sure if he got that in the back or not. So EGR flow P0401, it failed last test, and it hasn't ran its current test here. Doing this ignition cycle. EGR, let's see, so we got EGR evap, large leak detected, P0455, and P0520 engine oil pressure circuit. So this is what he's addressing today. He does have his own scanner down there, so I guess this is what he been seeing a lot of, I guess. Sometimes also with like some of the bidirectional scan tools, you can go into the bidirectional function and get codes that are not visible in the generic function. And truth be told, if the check engine light's not on in most cases, but there's a code reflective in the bidirectional portion or the generic portion, just ignore it until it actually shows that there's a code present, like a hard code. So it can be deceptive or deceiving in some way. But with this, we're dealing with the EGR. So let's go back. I'm gonna do a quick test with the EGR before I start tearing into it. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Engine's running, active test. EGR solenoid. So simply, if you lift the EGR, it should create a vacuum leak and it should run poorly. So we got EGR command. That should be reflective of what I'm implementing here through the scan tool. We have a desired versus the actual EGR position, and then we have the voltage here. So we want to pay attention to these two, desired versus actual. The desired should reflect my my commands. So I'm 30%, it's showing 30%. So this is showing that there's lift. I'm just going to max it out. Listen for a vacuum leak. Uh-oh. So I went up to, I tried to go to 100%, and the engine didn't pretty much change. I'll try it again. Uh-oh, I gotta wait a little bit. Oh, 30 seconds. I should be able to work this. So we're at EG, we got the desired 70%, actual 70%, but there's, even though we have lift, there's no change in idle, which sounds like, it seems like there's obstruction, or either there's something detached with the plunger, like the valve may not, or pinto, whatever you want to call it, the valve is not opening, and there's some disconnection with the valve and the lift sensor. So I mean, it's a shaft. I mean, I don't see how that could break. I'm thinking that we just likely just have some obstruction. I mean, this car does have like carbon buildup. This car does have 286,000 miles on it. So, I mean, carbon can build up and kill the EGR, the ability for the EGR to create some flow. So I think that's probably what we got.
This is just a change here. I already got the EGR valve off, but I'm gonna put this at the forefront. The EGR works by going into a decel state. So basically, once you let off the accelerator pedal from like a 50 mile per hour speed, the EGR valve will open. Being that the intake plenum is going to be in a deep vacuum, the map sensor is going to basically recognize a vacuum leak. So once this opens, the the EGR tube here is essentially going to, I'm not going to say go into atmosphere, but it's essentially opening the pathway from the intake to the exhaust, creating a vacuum leak. And the MAP sensor is going to recognize that there's a difference in a vacuum state. So that's what monitors the EGR insufficient flow state. But I'm back a couple hours later, well, quite a few hours later, and try to pull this EGR off and inspect the ports. Down in the back, there's the EGR tube, and right close to the throttle body is going to be our actual EGR valve. As far as, there's supposed to be a lock in here, but that shouldn't prevent this from, this shouldn't cause the purge valve to leak. Now, that may sound unconventional, but there's a seal that's in there, and this doesn't have like the most snug fit. Usually these leak, so it might be worth just trying to put a hose in there and blow through it and see what happens. I could just start it up and see if it has air going through here, which I'll go ahead and do right now, and that'll answer my question, because if it does have air, then this should be closed. Let me just disconnect it. We already got a code for it. Like I say, usually that's what the cause is, but I don't know specifically. It could be just the gas cap. It needs to be pressure tested. It's a bad oil leak. Alright, let's pull this EGR valve off. I'm just going to hold it up, see if there's any type of obstruction, and see if, I can electronically control it and see if there's any leaking going on. 10 millimeter, 210s. This valve looked like it was replaced before. It looks new. Oh, well, this is loose. That'll do it. Did it break? No, threads look like they're. That's interesting. There's always something with a damn GM. Like the threads came off. So in a way, I'm kind of stuck having to replace the EGR valve because I don't like the threads are going to be. How does the thread strip in here? Maybe it's just loose. Dang, I'm not that observant. Let me see if I can tighten up. That might have been the problem. Let's see if I can tighten. No, it's not going to tighten up. The threads are shot. So this is going to have to get replaced regardless. That's weird. How did that happen before? Bolt looked fine. I don't know, man. Somebody probably, I know I did intake gaskets and stuff on here so years ago, but then again, somebody else, obviously repairs his vehicle. Usually I need to put an extension on there. Yeah, I need to get an extension. Good. This. That there. I was hoping I could still keep the factory part in there, but evidently it's not going to be the case, because I don't feel like I don't want to do the wiring. That's what I was trying to prevent myself from having to do, because the line of stand, the EGR valve comes with a different connector. I guess there was some issues with the wiring harness, so they updated it. So that's out. I wonder. Well, I could tell somebody was already screwing around with it. I mean, the connector on the EGR valve is broken, so not a big deal. Let's look at the threads. So he did tell me he tried replacing it and it was different. So there's the threads. Yeah, they ate up. Gosh darn it. Normally what I would do with the EGR valve, start it up, it's just going to create a big vacuum leak, and it's going to just run poorly. So as far as me checking this, like I said, I would start it up and see if it just has vacuum. It will create a big vacuum leak. If there's vacuum, then it's capable of flowing. Now, when we originally started it up, there wasn't any vacuum because it wasn't able to detect a vacuum leak, even though the EGR had lifted itself. So I'm gonna start it up, see if there's any vacuum. Put my fingers here, and if not, then I'll take a brush or something, a pick or something, and go in there and try to see what's obstructed. So there's no vacuum. This weak vacuum. Technically the car shouldn't be running because I created a vacuum leak. So there's an obstruction. I mean, let's prove myself correct. Let me put this cap back on here. So I'm gonna take a pick, get inside of there, clean up this area, clean what I can in there. It should be a straight shot. All right, I had to change some plans up because I couldn't get no detail with that Harbor Freight camera, but there's the port for the EGR valve and it's blocked. So that's where I'm going to be trying to be cleaning up everything. And I'm right inside the throttle body, about a couple inches back. So if I can get that obstruction clean, we'll be good. I want to see if I would rather just leave the throttle body on there, original one, so I wouldn't have to change that harness. Fudge cake. Let me let the customer know what we're dealing with. Man, I tell you what, well, the customer bought their own parts, and I tell you, man, it's like the EGR tube looks like crap. And I told him, like, just let me know everything you bought. They just say, oh, I just got an EGR valve in the harness. That's the EGR tube too. And then, you know, like he started working on it, and there was a gasket on there. This got to be Amazon. This got to be Amazon quality, because the flange don't look nowhere near as thick on the factory one like it do on the aftermarket one. So I'm gonna clean that part off. I'm gonna see if I can get a flathead in there. Technically, I need to pull the throttle body off. I just don't want to have to do that, and I think I can fish around. I'm getting close. I got the inspection camera right here behind the throttle body. And we're at the port, the inlet for the EGR. I'm just waiting for it to crack, honestly. Just drain out. So I'm gonna keep picking at it. Honestly, in hindsight, I probably should have took the throttle body off, but I still wouldn't have been able to get down in the corner because it looked like it goes in here. Let me see if I can. So it looks like the port that's inside the intake kind of curves around and makes a sharp bend. I was able to get some picks down in there, but my 90 degree is like lost in space somewhere. So man, just a little bit. So I'm gonna keep on fishing at it and get the fluid to bleed off when I fill it up with brake fluid. Now I probably could just leave brake fluid in there overnight, but you know, and I do have something else I gotta work on, so I probably could just let it soak, because I know I said earlier brake cleaner probably ain't gonna do nothing, but brake cleaner will disturb or it will break down sludge buildup, and I've tested that before personally. But it will just have to sit for a while, and you will have to agitate it in some way. So after a while it will loosen it up. But as far as like clearing an obstruction, I mean, you need to be able to get to it and disturb it or agitate it for it to be effective. All right, whatever was lodged in there, I think I got it. There's definitely pathway blown through there. Let me see if it'll hold fluid. So if I pour brake cleaner in there, do it flush. Let's see if I pull this back. Not really. I'm still gonna screw with it, but at least it's capable of losing air, or is open in some fashion. So it's probably like a really small obstruction. So I'll probably like let that soak and just keep picking it and blowing through there, and it'll eventually free up. But I want to get it 100% unclogged if I can, but I don't think I'll be able to get 100%. And what I normally would do is put a brake cable, like an old cable that, you know, the vehicles in my generation had, throttle cable, just the inside of it, put it in there, put it on a drill, and it'll work perfectly. But I don't know where in the world I did with it. I can't remember the last time, well, I worked on a cable. Oh, I got one over here. I got a window regulator. Got a cable in there. I could just take this cable, stick it through there, fish it through there, and just put it on the end of a drill. That's exactly what I'm about to do. Okay, I got it blown out, so I'm gonna do a quick check and see if it works like it's supposed to. I'll get that taken care of later. So I'm gonna make sure this got vacuum. It's not gonna start because all that brake cleaner I put in there. Initially, Yeah, I got plenty of vacuum. That's great. You can see it idle different. That's great. Here a little better. All right, cool. Awesome. So next thing I gotta do is just worry about putting the aftermarket stuff that he got on there. Since the EGR valve is damaged, he got an EGR tube, so I'm gonna put that on there. Hopefully I don't have to replace that harness. And it's just, even though the connector's at the top here, I can flip it upside down, it'll still work like it's supposed to. So we'll see what happened, and then I wouldn't have to change the harness. This is fine. I mean, the EGR, this is not gonna come out. I'd just rather leave what it's not broke on there and put something aftermarket and universal on there. So let me turn this, get this taken care of, and then check for leaks. So I'm removing the EGR tube, and all the bolts, like, they're very loose. Like I said, I know he tried to replace it on his own. It's not a big deal, but it's just, you just don't know. That's all. Like, if it's supposed to be like that, or if it got like that on its own, or if somebody did it. But I mean, based off the context clues, I think all this happened from him trying to repair it, which is kind of funny because on TikTok, all the other mechanics discouraging people to work on their own vehicles, when I'm not like that. But it is kind of unfortunate that, he's going to spend more money. Look how thin this flange is. I can't reuse those bolts then. Look how thick this flange is. Aftermarket, factory. That's a big difference. Big difference. The aftermarket came with the gasket, but I don't know how in the world this is supposed to fit on here. I don't understand. I'm gonna reuse I'm gonna use what he got, but I'm not gonna put this gasket on here. It seemed like this EGR tube fitment is supposed to be like a compression fitting. So we're gonna use that. I just don't think I can use a gasket with this. It's just not working right. Maybe it's supposed to smash close and the gasket will somehow fit. I mean, the old one came with a gasket, but let me see. Look how flat this flange is. With the I can understand the gasket going here. And then the aftermarket one. I don't know. Dang it, man. Maybe it's supposed to collapse. Maybe I should put it on there first, let it collapse in, put the gasket on it. But it's aftermarket. Why would it come with something it don't need, right? So I can't reuse the bolts. Here's the game plan. I wound up putting the EGR tube on there without the gasket, got it to smash down. I took a grinder and went around it, so it's kind of flat, and it's going to serve its purpose. I didn't want to make it too terribly flat. I said fat. So when I put it on there, it's going to impression the rim of that gasket, and it should seat properly. So this flange and this gasket should mate just fine with that outer rim here of the EGR tube. So I think we're in good shape. Then I'll do what I need to do to get it on there. All right, everything's installed in reverse order. So it's time to see if I got any leaks. Oh gosh, see if I got any leaks with the EGR tube, the EGR valve, or from the EGR valve to the intake. I did flip the connector upside down again. It's supposed to go like this, but I'm just going to see if it works like upside down, and I'll do a basic test from there and see what happens. Let's start it up first. So obviously if I screw up, it's on me, and I got to pay for it. So when I get logged in here off the bat without tap shift, 05 G6 off the bat, I'm just looking for any. I'm gonna clear the codes, see if they come back related to the EGR valve, and then we'll do the basic EGR valve test. Valve screen, diagnostic, control unit, engine controls. Glare. So we had the EGR valve, we had evap, and we had a oil pressure sensor code previously. And yeah, so those EGR. So that's probably because I had started the vehicle up and they had the EGR valve disconnected. Alright, so I'm going to see if there's any immediate comebacks because I plugged the sensor in upside down. So we should have like voltage high, so no fault codes. Cool. So I'm gonna do an EGR test. We're gonna do a lift silk. We're gonna lift these plunger and see if it changes idle. EGR position. So yeah, it's not working. So it's not going to work. EGR command. EGR positions 100%, so it's not supposed to be there. Let me unplug it. Alright, I guess I gotta change the connector, so turn it upside down ain't gonna work. So I'm gonna work on getting the wiring taken care of here. Got thrown off for a second, ain't that bright. So here's the wiring for the new connector here. Now reading this, okay, so it is a little backwards. E is going to be orange and E is on the far left. So if you face it away, so if you're looking at it, E is going to be on the far left. Far left here. So you would turn it around, and now you got from left to right the normal alphabetical order. So we would basically match up the wires from the old one to the new one when they're 180 turned away. So orange is going to be to the far end here, and whatever our A is, gray, it's going to be on the far left. So if we turn it around facing the same direction, it's going to be opposite. So you want to flip it upside down and do it that way. So that's what's making sense. So the locks basically need to be polar opposite of one another. So we got E is going to be the orange. Here's our E. Here's our D, 5-volt reference. And I'm going to pull up the wiring diagram for this connector, and then you'll be able to see that they correspond. Now they look faded, so but I know based off what the wiring diagram states on Identifix, I'm just going to pretty much match them up this way. Now just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna loosely have these wired up. I'm gonna go through a test, and then I'll go back over it and put them in heat shrink, and then put them in the wire loom to finish the job. It's very simple. Got everything. It's not tight, it's not finalized, obviously. So I'll start it up, and then we're gonna check the same thing, see if it goes through a basic test. If it do, I'll button up my wiring, make it neat and factory as I possibly can, and conclude this job. Oh. Let's see if we got some reflection. Yep, look at that. Let's see if we can get it to. It's running bad now, which is great. That's what I want. Remember, it wasn't doing that before. I'm gonna max it out, and it's gonna clear up once it just cease to continually open that valve up. This should just discontinue shortly. So I've reached my limit. Yep, and it clears up. So yeah, this is fixed. And again, we were trying to achieve a vacuum leak, and it was able to do that. Let me get all this stuff buttoned up, and I'll be back. Now, what I want to do, I should put like some insulation on here. This lighter about had it. I had this for so long. I should have put like a larger insulator on here, which will encapsulate all of them at its union, but I didn't solder anything. I just turned them together, which works perfectly fine. It has maximum flex. Lighter about had it. I don't have to worry about those butt connectors looking all tacky and bulky. The heat shrink has glue on it, so it'll keep it nice and tight and pretty looking. I will say, take me some wire tape, go around it, and then put some insulation on it. I have some old insulation from doing engines, and I know I got a Chevy. I did a lot of these motors and transmissions and stuff, so I would keep wire looms. This wire tape is raggedy, but it'll do what I need it to do. Small section of used wire insulator. This will be fine for what we got going on. I'll probably need to add a little more, and I will. me just start my wire tape. This tape is, I don't know why it's sticky on the outside. It's just like it's been sitting out for a long time. Got it from my brother's truck. I swear it was new. Maybe it's like it's a defect. Where the hell is it started? Down here. That tight. Get a good foundation. Start running it up. Grab some more. There we go. Run that back up there. Several windings to get good foundation. Up. And then we're going to get several windings here at the end. So yeah, maybe a little longer, but it has flicks and stuff, and it looks okay. It could have looked a little better, but it's a wiring harness. It's protected. I could put a zip tie. Actually, I can put it inside here. Fit. Yep. So yeah, there we go. It's not bad. I don't think. I know I could have done like 1,000 different ways, but it works out. Oh, my light's about to die. Both my other light didn't die on me. Yes. Yep. It's flashing. Everything has died. Light-wise. Alright, I'm gonna call it quits with this, but everything works fine as far as the EGR valve. I still gotta put an intermediate shaft on there. I'm just gonna knock that out real quick. The labor time on that was 0.6 hours, so, and I've done a couple of them. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, had it reach with some work. See you on the next one.